When we set out to record this episode of Green Grassroots of Football, we had no idea just how much there was to discuss on the topic of refereeing. So much so that we didn't have time to get through all of the discussion points. Upon editing it, the decision was made to cut it into 2 parts. There were some technical difficulties with the audio, and apologies for that. However, sit back and enjoy part 1 of Arbiters of the Law.
There is a refereeing crisis in the world of grassroots football. Studies have shown that 93.7% of football match officials have been physically or verbally abused during a match. 9 in 10 referees have been verbally abused, and 59.7% of referees experience some form of abuse every 2 games. In the professional game, Bristol Rovers have launched an investigation following reports of sexist abuse towards referee Rebecca Welsh during their recent defeat to Wycombe Wanderers. Alexander Mitrovic pushed the referee's arms as he's talking to him and received an instant red card during Man United vs Fulham's FA Cup quarter-final match. However, in the Liverpool vs Man United Premier League match just 2 weeks earlier, Bruno Fernandes shoved the assistant referee and the whistle wasn't even blown. In this episode, we look at all things refereeing and explore a variety of aspects which are impacting match officials and their ability to officiate the beautiful game. This would include abuse, respect, numbers, and many other things as we discuss those in black, or other colours, who are the arbiters of the laws of the game, without whom we simply could not play. I am joined as usual by Mark. Hello Mark.
Hello Andy.
Also tonight joining us are 2 referees. One just starting out on his refereeing journey, and the other now fully on his grassroots refereeing career path. And I will let them say a bit about themselves in a bit. But for now, welcome Alex and Bradley.
Hello.
Hello.
I myself have been a qualified referee since 2002 and have refereed boys, girls and men's football in my time, although much less these days as my coaching role hasn't really allowed it for a number of years, except when we haven't been assigned a referee. Mark, your refereeing experience?
Again, I've only started since October, left a few games in that time, so all very new to it, and it opens your eyes to how you look at things differently. So yeah, that's where I am at the moment with it.
So now I'll ask Alex and Bradley just to introduce themselves and give a brief overview of their role in football and as referees. Alex?
Yeah, I'm Alex. I've been refereeing since 2006, so that's 17 years now, all at a local level, and it's not until I've just worked out did I realise how long I've been refereeing, but wouldn't change it for the world.
Bradley?
Hi, I'm Bradley. I played for Andy's football team since under 7s and have recently joined refereeing, and I did my course last October and started refereeing in November.
Brilliant. Before we start, 2 things. If you can hear any noise in the background, we're just watching the Italy versus England Euro qualifier, so that just gives you an idea of when we're recording this. One, because we're obviously football fans, but also in case any contentious refereeing issues come up. But also, I'd like to thank our podcast sponsor, Rachel's Bookkeeping, for all your bookkeeping needs. So, we usually begin our podcast with a statement of some description to get us going. But this is more of a sombre report. In December 2012, 41-year-old Richard Nieuwenhuizen was a volunteer linesman at his son's match in Amsterdam in Holland. After the final whistle had blown, he was attacked by a group of opposition players aged just 15 and 16 who had disagreed with the decisions he had made during the match. He was punched, knocked to the ground and kicked in the head. Following the attack, he refused medical attention, but his health deteriorated rapidly. He later collapsed and died in hospital. So I'll open that one from that point. I think I'll open this to the general forum and get everyone's opinion on what we think of that statement. I'll come to Alex first.
It's unreal, but also at the same time not surprising. So it's been 17 years for me refereeing, around about the same time for my brother and my dad, just a couple of years more. And the incidences that we've had to deal with, so I, on 4 occasions, have had to give police statements in response to incidents that have happened from decisions in games or actions in games or at football tournaments where parents have decided to come on and intervene and grab kids and parents are fighting and things. And it's a game of football. We're there for kids' football in the main, from my experience and that, and it is just a game of football. I go out to enjoy myself and watch football, and the expectation of having to deal with things like this is just maddening, and the threat of it as well, and just how quickly things can escalate from a simple decision to effing and jeffing and swearing and whatever else, because people aren't aware of the laws of the game. It's just crazy.
Brad?
Well, as I'm like in the under 15s, I think that's quite unbelievable.
Have you ever felt though, that sort of, I mean, you can imagine, I think the thing that shocked me, because I knew that it happened, but the fact was, these boys were your age. Can you ever see that? I mean, you obviously hang around with a lot of players, you know that sort of thing. Can you imagine anyone of your friends getting that angry at a decision?
Not really.
You know, and yet, it's, you know, Mark?
It's unfortunately, obviously go out to the family and stuff for him, and it's. I think there's a thing now with the body cams of coming out for up Yorkshire way. I think is a league. I'm not too sure of the league that it is. Unfortunately, it will happen, and the report is that they do think eventually, on a pitch, a ref will lose their life, and like Alex said, it's kids' football. I don't know what parents are coming across. It's ridiculous. So it's sad. It doesn't surprise me. Not myself. Not myself, but I mean, my brother. This is getting about 5-6 years ago. It was adult football, I will say. A team in Bristol. He reffed them, and like Alex, the police had to come out due to the decision. And there was fighting going on the pitch. He got allocated that same team the week after. He said, "I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it." The league calmed and said, "No, look, we'll have somebody from the league come down. It'll be fine. There won't be any issues. The club have apologised. Won't happen again." 20 minutes later, the police were there into the game again because it kicked off again. And again, he'd been abused. Again, I played in a match. I don't know who we were playing. Again, this was a long time, so it's been going on for a while. And I can remember the poor ref blew the final whistle at the corner flag and had to run to his car with players chasing him. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Granted that it was adult football, but still, only grassroots adult football. I think it was Sunday League Division 5. I mean, it doesn't really matter, to be totally honest. And from what I can remember the game, he didn't do a bad job. And he was having to run. I mean, it's just... So, it doesn't surprise me, and unfortunately, unless things change, I will always say the minority... I think we said on the last podcast that out of all the games that go on this weekend, if games are on with weather, 95 to 97% of games will go off without any incidents at all. So it is just the minority, but it is getting more.
Well, I did a little bit of digging, obviously, before we recorded this. In 2021, Mike Dean, obviously a Premiership referee, had to step back from officiating after receiving death threats to his family. This year, more than 900 grassroots referees responded to a BBC survey, of which 57 said they had received death threats. And in El Salvador in June 22, Jose Arnaldo Anaya gave a second yellow, dismissing a player in their grassroots league when another player and some spectators attacked him, which led to internal bleeding and his death at the age of 63.
It's ridiculous.
So obviously it's not just this country. I've seen South America, I've seen Africa videos where you see the referee running from just swarms of people, players, crowds, and you think, well, that's not going to happen here. And yet you hear your testimony, police called, you've done it 4 times, you know. Do you think it's getting worse?
I don't. It's hard. It's hard to quantify, isn't it? Because, like Mark said, the occurrences are not in the main, but the incidences themselves are severe, or more severe than they used to be. So, yeah, a lot of games will go off without hitches. But I was doing a Saturday League game a couple of weeks ago, and normal foul, giving it, kid gets up, smacks the other kid. Of course, then people come onto the pitch, and it makes your job so much harder trying to tell people that they shouldn't be on the pitch. That's the first thing I'm trying to deal with. You're going, oh, I'm just trying to help. You're not helping. You're just inflaming the situation, because that person comes on and grabs somebody. Why have you grabbed me? And we see it all the time in these melees in Premiership football. Somebody comes in to grab somebody. Why have you grabbed me? He shoves him and he shoves him, and then all of a sudden 30 people are all in a swarm, and it's just me stood there going, I don't know what to do. They go, why aren't you getting involved? They're all throwing punches. I'm not sticking my face in there. Once they've all stopped, then I'll deal with it. But yeah, it is a worry, because I got to enjoy myself, like I said, and then you apply the laws of the game. Why have you given that? That's not this. Or people are shouting for things, and you're thinking, that left the game years ago. Well, that's not even a thing. Why? And then you challenge it, and you say, well, I'm here to make the decision. I'm the person who has the knowledge of the laws of the game. Trust me. No, I'm not trusting you. Why should I do that? It just escalates. It's madness.
Okay, move that nicely on to abuse, both verbal and physical. So not quite threat to life. And an anecdote, I thought with an anecdote I had, this was going back a number of years. I was doing it was an adult game, it was in the Bath Leagues. It was actually in Manor Road, funny enough. And the opposition team had turned up, 11 players. I think the manager was playing as well. So like, well, who's running your line? We've got nobody. So straight away you're like, this is not going to go well. They have no one to run their line. I was like, you've got to have someone. We've got nobody. I'm like, if I'm behind play, and if it's a clearance, and I'm doing a corner, and they clear it, and it's away, I'm not going to be able to see if it's offside. Well, we'll go with it. Very soon they're down, and they're getting more and more angry. Oh, that's offside, ref. I can't see. How can I see? You should have had a license. Anyway, a player gets injured. Another player's having a go at me. I'm talking to him, and as it's happened, somebody else comes up behind me and tries to pull my shorts and boxers down. Now, as it happened, back then I was like larger than I am now. You wouldn't believe it, I know. And I always used to do my shorts up really tightly. So, badly for him, nothing budged. And I turned around like, what do you think you're doing? Over here, come on, what's your name? Effing Mickey Mouse. Right, okay. So I write down Mickey Mouse, because I was always told, they give you that name, you put it down, because that name's not on their team sheet, so they're playing an ineligible player. So they'll get done for ineligible players as well. One player was injured and already gone off, so I send him off, and he has a go at me. It's like, you're serious, you're having a go at me? Because that's like, he's attacked me as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Another player then calls me an effing joke for sending him off. I'm like, what? Seriously? And it got so bad, I was just like, no, I just, at that point I started getting fearful, and I was like, no, this match is now abandoned, because enough of them had gone. To a point that I said to the home team, who I had refereed the week before. I'm not going in the changing room. I've got my. Can you go and get my keys and get the rest of my stuff, and I'll let you know where I live, and I had to come and let it myself. I didn't feel safe enough to go in the changing rooms where they were.
It's just.
And funny enough, I sent my report into the league. I received nothing back. No follow-up, no support, no okay. And that was the last time I refereed adult football.
How long ago was that?
Oh, wow. 10, 15 years maybe. Yeah, I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Kids only from now on. And yeah, I know you can get abuse in kids football, but it's usually a couple of parents online and not surrounded by 22 of them or 26 of them.
I mean, I don't know what it is without adults. I mean, Alex has certainly known more than me and Brad. But after the course, the FA were very keen to say of the amount of support that there is now, and if you do get stuff like that, they will get in contact with you. Somebody senior from our league, Somerset FA, will come and support. So Alex knows more than we do. Unfortunately, we've not had to deal with that yet. But fingers crossed, and hopefully that support is there now, and hopefully for certainly with the adults as well, because it's got to be the same. But it does seem that the FA is more supportive now, and they're certainly more aware of the situations for refs. I mean, seeing you know a lot more, Alex.
Yeah, I think just the attention that has been drawn to it off the pitch is probably forced the FA's hand, because unfortunately I've not had a serious incident for a while now. But when I have, and when my dad and my brother have, there was nothing. You sent the report in, and you didn't know anything, no outcome. And I think it's kind of like how VAR has highlighted flaws in the laws of the game, is that the severity of these things have highlighted flaws in the disciplinary system for all the FAs. So, I remember once I went to an appeal. Somebody appealed against the match that I abandoned at High Ridge kids game because the manager was abusive, and I couldn't drive at the time, so I think my mum took me, and went down to the hearing. She wasn't allowed to come in to give when I gave the evidence, and then the manager came in and pulled 4 random people down with him to back up his side of the story. And it was unproven and thrown out, and it's just like, well, I'm a 15, 16-year-old referee, spent an hour being abused, have a witness, and he's just brought 4 random people in with him, and it got thrown out. And there was no support, and I've taken breaks at varying points of my refereeing career because I just go, it ain't worth it. It just is not worth it. I'm not enjoying it, and it's getting up, going all times of the day, all parts of Bristol, and you think, why am I bothering? What is the point?
That is sad to hear.
I was going to ask Bradley, how did you listen to this so far? How is this making you feel as you begin your refereeing?
I hope I've not put him off.
Well, I haven't received any abuse yet, but I've only reffed 2 under 13 games and 1 under 12, and the rest have been under 10 or less. But as I get older, I'll probably ref older games, receive more abuse, and then if it's too serious, I will probably abandon the game.
Do you get parents shouting at your decisions at all? You have not had that?
No, I've not had that because there's not been many parents there.
I will come to you though. As a parent, because obviously you've got Bradley, but also Corey's the same, done it.
Yeah. As
a parent of young referees, listening, especially to Alex's testimony, if they decide to carry on doing a referee, how do you feel as a parent, knowing what could be ahead of them?
It's weird with Brad and with Corey, and I've watched them, and no, they've not. No, Corey had a little bit on Sunday, but they've not had anything. But they do get their decisions criticised, and there was an under 12s game that Brad reffed, and one of the parents was close to the wind with what he said to Bradley. Bradley didn't hear it, But as the parent on the sideline, it was tempting to go and have a quiet word with him, politely or unpolitely, because it wasn't too bad. I've encouraged them to do the reffing because I think it's important, and I think in a lot of the cases, 90%. Again, like we said, it'll be okay, and we will make sure. And at the moment, I'm managing it that they only do prize games at the time. As they go older, I'll make sure we're there. And obviously, when they get to Alex's age, probably won't be there. I do encourage them to do it. I think they're both sensible, and I think most of the refs are, and how they handle the situations, and will look after themselves. But it'll certainly be more concern, I'm sure, for his mother than it is for me. I think, especially, and she'll pull him out of it, and that's the shame. I said, with refs, without the refs, it doesn't carry on, and so Brad, Corey, obviously Alex for 17 years, and it's to hear that Alex has had times out where it's got too much. I think clubs have got to realise. We had a thing on Sunday with Corey. I was refereeing. It was a cup final again because it was under 9, so that there is no linesman. The ball went out. As coaches, we were this side. The ball went out the far side. Corey let the game carry on. There was a goal scored. The parents, the ball's gone out. It shouldn't have been a goal. Blah. Coaches this side said, "Well, I'm going to believe what they're saying over there," and it was. And then we said, "Oh, don't know. We won't have the goal. Just carry on." And it calmed down. But I think it was very close. Again, he's a young lad in the middle with no it's difficult to see if the ball's gone out that much, and he kept calm and he wasn't that fussed about it. But it was almost a case of if it was last minute contentious decision, one game or one decision, and then could be enough for him to say. And after the game, whether it was at him or anything, but a 9-year-old girl said he was a effing idiot. Again, and he laughed it off. The girl probably hadn't got a Scooby-Doo what she's, it even meant or anything. And they're quite level-headed. But you can see how it could escalate. If I'd have heard the girl say it, I might have gone and spoke to the parent. And it can escalate very quickly. And I'm sure 90% of the time, most people wouldn't act as they would on a Sunday. How they act on a Sunday evening is totally different from how they act on a Sunday morning. But going back to him reffing and stuff, I hope he carries on. But there are certain, I obviously won't say the clubs, but there are certain clubs I wouldn't want them to go to their grounds and ref. And if at all possible, I'd say, no, we won't do that one. And it's a shame for those clubs because, again, I imagine most of the time they're okay, but you hear of certain incidents. I think there was a big incident in under 16s league this year by a club that I generally thought was a nice club. But you hear the incident, you hear the name of that club, and you think, okay, well, he said he won't be going to ref them then. And that's potentially might happen. And unfortunately, due to the lack of referees, I think referees can be selective on what games they say, well, I'll do that one, but I won't do that one going forward because there is a lack of referees out there. So, we'll see how that goes.
So, Alex, how do you deal with it then when you're on the pitch? Not so much the players, because the players are easy to deal with if they're abusing you.
It depends on the incident. Like, I did under 15s cup semi-final the other week in the Avon Youth League, and there was a late challenge and everyone's moving at speed, and it looked 100 times worse than I thought it did to me, and everyone's up in arms and the manager's shouting and the parents are shouting, and my granddad is 86 and he knows everybody. If you don't know them, they're not worth knowing. And he took me along to a Skittles match one night, and his friend Roger Milford was there. Of course, he refereed the cup final, and he said, go up to that man and say, you should have said Gascoigne off. And I thought, I don't know what you mean, so I told him. Anyway, we had a chat about refereeing and stuff, and he said, whenever you have a situation like that and you think, I just need to talk to that person, call him over. And I called this kid over and I went, are you having a nice time? You having a good game? You enjoying yourself? And he went, what? I said, with everyone over there, and I'm pointing at everyone, he said, everyone thinks you're getting a right telling off now, but you're not. And I'm just talking to you. We're just having a chat. And everyone's come down thinking, oh, he's getting really told off over there and this and that. I said, just be a bit careful, because next time you make a challenge, somebody's going to flare up again, but just watch yourself and just enjoy yourself and play with a smile on your face. And off he goes, and thinking, oh, no, the away manager said, oh, he got right telling off there. But he didn't. But everyone else now thinks that because the whole situation's diffused and everything's so much calmer, he did end up getting booked, but because it was like persistent infringement. It's just a balancing act. And I'm not a patient person, I'm not a calm person, but when you're in that situation and you can see how a game is going, it's on me to keep it calm. Now, I did your game against Whitchurch a few weeks ago, and that challenge went in, and it was the first foul that kid had made. If I didn't book him at that time, that game explodes, because that is now the level beyond that we get a caution. So, yeah, sometimes it's harsh on the person that makes that challenge, but it's where we are. Managers are always a fun one. The ability to caution them now has been a great help. I did another Avon Youth League game under 13s, and the manager made it quite clear that he wasn't a fan of me, and I said I don't really mind, but anyway, he kept chipping, and I'm on the far side of the pitch and I just hear him go. So over I go and talk to him. He said, I don't normally comment, but I said, well, why are you doing it today then? So I cautioned him, and I cautioned his assistant later on. And afterwards is, oh, you're shocking, this is terrible, that was terrible. And I was like, I wasn't at fault for all 8 goals that you let in. So I'll admit to a mistake maybe, but you need to look at yourself as well as shouting at me. And one thing I did say to an under 16 a few weeks ago was, you've done nothing but shout at me. If you want to ask me a question, ask me a question. If you don't agree with me, come with an answer, come with a solution. Don't just shout at me, because I've not given up my Sunday afternoon to be shouted at by a 16-year-old child. I said, now, if for the rest of the game, I comment on you, and any misplaced pass, you out of position, I wouldn't have done that. Or what are you doing over there? Well, that was bad. Or you shouldn't have done that. You should have passed it to him instead of him. I said, would you appreciate that? No. Okay. So why are you doing it to me? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry, Raf. All right. Then we'll say no more of it. But it's just experience as well. Right? I wouldn't expect and a younger referee to be able to do that. And when I was a young referee, I just went, oh, and like shrunk into my shell. But you get to that point where you just go, no, you're wrong. I'm right. I know what I'm doing. And you'll just have to deal with it.
Okay. So, I'm going to ask, what do you think the impact of players, especially young players, get watching the professionals? Because we're watching it be England. What do you think? How do you think that impacts the role that referees have to play? I'll give 2 examples. So, January 29th, 2000, Andy D'Urso awarded a near last-minute penalty to Middlesbrough against Manchester United. I think you mentioned this in the first podcast. And was chased by Jaap Stam, David Beckham, Nicky Butt and Roy Keane as he backed away around the pitch. It was actually his first season as a Premier League ref and his first time at Old Trafford. And he later admitted he felt distracted by the fall, so forgot to send Stam off. And Giannini missed the penalty, and United won 1-0. But they chased him like a bug. It was a ravaging dog, if I'm honest. And then the other example was September 26th of 1998, Sheffield Wednesday versus Arsenal. Paolo Di Canio shoved Paul Alcock to the ground, and he got 11 match ban. And for him, his redemption came less than 3 years later when he got a FIFA Fair Play award. But do you think players... I'll come to you, Mark, first. Do you think players today, and I'm looking at obviously youngsters, I'm not thinking of adults so much, look at what the professionals do surrounding the ref, every decision, and think, well, they do it.
Of course, they see it as the norm. that is the behaviour. The boys, and Brad, Corey, I'm sure most lads and girls watch. Well, it's 24/7 football. That's the thing. They can watch it, and they see the players. We just watched. There was a thing. Didn't see the foul. What happened between the England-Italy game, and the referee had 4 England players round him. And it looked like bizarrely England had the free kicks. I'm not quite sure what they were moaning about, but that's what they see. Every decision that goes against in the Premier League, in the Championship, international football, the referee suddenly has 4 blokes next to him, giving him what for from both sides and la la la. So naturally, the kids who watch it, they skill wise, they want to do Ronaldo, Messi, whoever's the defender. So if they behave like that, that's how we behave. And if they don't see that there's any consequences for the actions, and they think there won't be any consequences for them. So it is, in my opinion, it's a big influence. And of my own opinion, which we might get onto later, is football has got to take a big leap out of what rugby does. It is only the captain that goes over. Anything else, if it's a foul there, gets 10 yards forward. And I think refs potentially have to, certainly grassroots, use the sin bin a lot more now. I think since we've been playing and it's come in, I know there was the break with COVID and stuff, I've not seen a sin bin decision made where somebody's gone off for 10 minutes.
No, I don't think the sin. We actually will come to the sin bin, but I don't think the sin bin has been used in any of our games.
I mean, again, whether Alex might have sent somebody onto a sin bin, but something has to change. But the influence of the Premier League, again, players, managers, the crowd, like we said, on refs, gets influence because the crowds on grassroots football think, well, we can get away with saying what we want to a ref. And there is no consequence. Again, Alex has got more experience, but if Bradley was, if he's reffing, say, an under-13s game, he's 50 and 5 or 6 parents suddenly started saying stuff at him or stuff at the opposition, and he's not in a position that he can deal with 5 or 6 adults. He's a lad of 14, 15 years of age. So the bigger clubs, the professional clubs, need to have a look at themselves. I think there needs to be more. But with the original question, the influence, they will copy without a doubt.
Yeah, I will actually come to Bradley next because obviously you're in a unique position now where you're kind of both sides of it. Because you're still playing, and I've seen you react badly to decisions. I wouldn't say you harangue referees, but at least verbally shout. How do you feel now that you're on the other side as well? How does that make you? Not make you feel as guilty, but how do you now? What do you think now?
Well, being a referee and obviously going through the training, you look at it and you're like, well, as a player, normally you go by the professionals go by, and you think, oh, that's going to help me get scouted. But then, actually, it's not what you're doing, it's how you behave. Because if a scout came along to a game and they saw you mouthing off at a ref for getting the decision right, they wouldn't scout you, they'll scout someone else who's just walked away and got ready.
Focus on the game, you mean? Yeah.
And what do you think, Brad, about how you react to referees' decisions now? Would you, be as a ref yourself, would you argue with a referee?
Do you think you've changed since you've done the course or not?
I think I have.
Do you think you're still in the moment on the pitch?
Well, on Sunday when that player obviously hit across the line, I was like, send him off, because it was obvious.
You were saying to the referee, he's got to go, ref, he's got to go. In fact, I think Jacob was shaking on the sideline with shouting, he's got to go, ref, he's got to go. Jacob's another one who's qualified ref at the same time. He was shouting, he's got to go.
I mean, I suppose I think for the new lads, Jacob, Bradley and Corey, because they've done the course there, they know the laws, and it was they might not have known the law before that it was and to be fair to the ref who we had on Sunday, I thought he was a fantastic ref. I think it was something that the ref knew. He did give that penalty decision, and he did send their lad
He was
off.
on the line, he put his hand up and got off the line with his hand.
That was a great save.
Very much like Suarez versus
Garner.
one of those.
It had the same effect. We then missed the penalty, and they won 2-1.
They went down and scored another one after that. Before we finally got a goal with another penalty. But as we digress.
But as you go with that game, as where that ref, he was a fantastic ref. He refed it. My wife was watching it on the other side, and he said he refed it with comedy, like you said. And yet there was one decision he made where they scored their first goal. In our opinion, the lad who scored the goal was behind our goalkeeper, and our goalkeeper's patted it down. He's come round and knocked it in the net. Our opinion was he was offside. The referee said it was second phase. And he's also cast. But again, I think as a club and as a team, we accepted. I think there's a lot of teams who would have given that referee a lot of abuse for that decision, because it was our linesman had flagged for him being offside. The referee went over and chatted to him, explained how the referee had seen it. Our linesman explained what he had seen, and the referee went with how he'd seen it and gave the goal. As a club, I think we're generally, as a coaching thing, we're quite calm and accepted it. Unfortunately, those sort of contentious decisions now, by a lot of clubs, will get that referee potentially opening himself up for abuse, and he's brave to make that decision.
But I think a lot of that comes from watching, like I said, even now there's a penalty thing here, and 2 or 3 players are surrounding the ref saying that's got to be offside. So come to you now, Alex. Do you think what impact do you think the professional behaviour has on grassroots?
It's people act like they're a professional themselves. So I remember John Terry playing under Mourinho in the first incarnation of the special one, where he would run 80 yards to then shout at the referee. And it's like, if he was the captain, and the captain can come speak to the referee, and I think that's the difference. The captain can come and speak to the referee and have a discussion, not barrage a load of abuse and nonsense, and then go, and every time you then try and answer is, well, by this point, it's like, you've asked me 47 questions, at least allow me to answer some of them and explain and just have a normal conversation. But I remember, again, it was a youth game, still wasn't able to drive, and I was taken up there, trying to move a wall back, because this is what we do, we stand and we block and delay, and I booked all 5 of them. And the manager then kicks off and it's like, well, I've asked them to move twice, I think twice is more than enough, that is the law. So it's, we all want to be the best, and like you said in the previous podcast, you get to that point where the desire to win begins to take over for the kids that are playing, and we all want to win at the end of the day. That's why we play a game. But just because we lose or something doesn't go our way doesn't mean that's the be all and end all of everything. We can accept that a decision is wrong. We don't agree with it because I was stood in a different position to Bradley. If Bradley's made a decision and I'm on the line on the other side, I can go, I don't think that was right, but he's the person that's making the decision. Let's get on with it. And just, I do remember I was managing a side and my dad was refereeing and he missed a handball. It's the most blatant handball in the world. And I went full meltdown crazy. I kicked a water bottle over this and I went absolutely ballistic, and it was really embarrassing. And then after the incident I was like, now if I was the referee, what would I have done? Well, I sent myself off for the reaction. So that cost me a lot in cider and a takeaway teas as way of an apology, because it was, I said, it was in the moment, I embarrassed myself. And I've never, in all the teams I've managed and coached afterwards, I've never reacted like that. And it is just the heat of the moment, it's how you deal with it. But also being able to say, do you know what, I overreacted there and I was wrong, is a big thing.
Yeah.
Now, probably when your linesman's put the flag up and the referee's overruled him and disagreed, someone was going, well, he's probably cheated. It's not. It's a difference of opinions, and we're allowed to have that difference of opinion. Just because the referee hasn't taken it doesn't mean he's trying to get one over. No. He's gone, I think that's offside. And like I said, the person who's paid this to be there to know has made the decision, and that's what we have to accept.
Yeah. I mean, I think with abuse, in some ways, like you said, I think the effing and jeffing is, it's not acceptable, but it's there. For me, the word that you use there is when refs get called cheats. I think that's almost the most hurtful and thing that you could accuse somebody who's given up their time. I mean, I don't imagine you really care, Alex, who wins a League.
And I say that all the time. I say I really don't care. It's not going to ruin my Sunday afternoon, unless Newcastle then go on and lose. It's not going to ruin my Sunday afternoon. And I said, there are obviously 2 C's that we don't accept. Yeah. One of them being cheat, and obviously the other one. And it's just games I've played in where the referee has been called a cheat. And I'm going, send him off. That's your own player. I don't care. Send him off. He should not say that. It's unacceptable. Well, maybe just a yellow, but then you've made a rod for your own back there because you've got to get rid of him. You're impartial. You don't care who wins. You just want a game of football.
And I think that is something. And you hear, they don't, bizarrely, it's one word you don't usually hear in the professional game when they get close to saying the word and probably will imply it without actually saying it, but they don't use the word cheat. And I think I've heard it on, especially unfortunately nowadays, where there is a lack of referees and somebody from the club has to, turn up and do it. And you hear it almost everywhere. It's home ref. And which is implied they're a cheat.
Yeah.
There's no other way. And why would you say they're a home ref? And I think that's got to come out. And both sides, I've heard it, time after time. And I think with Andy and certainly the games I've refereed, unfortunately, the home ref is probably more lenient towards the opposition because you want to make a decision more. Yeah. Oh, that's a 50-50. Well, I better go the away one then. It's probably a prize decision, but I'll just be on the safe side of the opposition.
It's the same. I don't know whether you've come across it yet, Bradley, or not, but we are human. And if that person has berated me, it's human nature when they go in for 50-50 to penalise that person because it's just in the back of your mind. And you're not trying to influence the game at all, but you just go, oh, you've been an idiot all game. And instantly you see it from the other point of view.
Oh, I don't know. So I'm different. If someone's been having a go at me, I'm almost like, I can't do him again because you'll think I'm picking on him. And I do. I'm almost the other way. It's like, oh, you'll think I'm picking on him.
It's now. Like yin and yang, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was part 1 of Arbiters of the Law. Part 2 will follow shortly. You can email us your questions, comments and random thoughts at greengreengrassroots@gmail.com, and please like and subscribe via your podcast providers. You've been listening to a We Haven't Got a Clue What We're Doing production, produced and edited by Andy Glover.